Presenting on bioremediation, and we are group 20. This is the table of contents for bioremediation or our project. Yes. So the definition of bioremediation, one may ask, what's bioremediation? Bioremediation is any process that uses organisms, that's microorganisms, algae, and plants, or their enzymes to return the polluted environment to its original condition. Per Environmental Protection Agency, bioremediation is defined as the process whereby organic wastes are biologically degraded under controlled conditions to an innocuous state or to levels below concentration concentration limits established by regulatory authorities. How bio how bioremediation works. Bioremediation relies on stimulating the growth of certain microbes that utilize contaminants including oil, solvents, and pesticides for sources of food and energy. These microbes convert contaminants into small amounts of water as well as harmless gases such as carbon dioxide. Bioremediation requires a combination of the right temperature, nutrients, and foods. The absence of these elements can prolong the cleanup of contaminants. Conditions that are unfavorable for bioremediation can be improved by adding amendments to the environment such as molasses, vegetable oil, or simple air. These amendments optimize conditions for microbes to flourish, accelerating the completion of the bioremediation process. The bioremediation can be done at the site of the contamination or ex situ at, at a location away from the site. Ex situ bioremediation may be necessary if the climate is too cold to sustain microbe activity or if the soil is too dense for nutrients to distribute evenly. Ex situ bioremediation can require ex- can require excavation and cleaning of the soil above ground, and this can add significant cost to the process. Factors that affect bioremediation: 1. Concentration of the contaminants. 2. Nutrient availability. 3. Characteristics of contaminated soil. Factors that affect bioremediation: 1. The concentration of the contaminant. The concentration of the contaminants directly affects micro, microbial activity. Lower, lower the concentration of the contaminants, there will be decreasing rates of degrading enzymes produced by bacteria in the soil. Toxic effects are observed in presence of higher concentrations of contaminants. The decomposition rate of catabolic enzymes can be increased by the synergistic interactions between different components of the contaminant. Factors that affect bioremediation: nutrient availability. Carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and calcium are the basic requirements for the growth of microorganisms. The concentration of nutrient availability directly affects the degradation of contaminants. The excessive presence of nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus shows a negative impact on the degradation of hydrocarbons. The rate of bioremediation can also be determined by knowing the accessibility of organic matter towards microorganisms, which is known as bioavailability. Characteristics of contaminated soil. The bioremediation process is significantly affected by different parameters of the contaminated soil, such as pH, texture, permeability, water holding capacity, temperature, and oxygen availability. pH. Optimum pH is required for the bioremediation process, which ranges from 6 to 8. Neutral pH is suitable for the degradation of petroleum hydrocarbons, whereas such fungi and acidophilic microbes degrade contaminants in an acidic environment. Temperature. The degradation of contaminants is also affected by temperature, especially in the case of hydrocarbons under both in situ and ex situ conditions. It has been found that a higher temperature of 30 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees increases the bioremediation in the soil as well as the marine environment. Oxygen availability. Oxygen is a very important factor to determine the extent and rate of biodegradation of contaminants. Aerobic biodegradation is much faster than anaerobic biodegradation. For the aerobic respiratory breakdown of organic contaminants, oxygen availability plays a significant role. In the majority cases, the addition of hydrogen peroxide is used to introduce oxygen. Oxygen peroxide is about 7 times more soluble in water than oxygen. Method of bioremediation. There are two broad classes of bioremediation. One, in situ bioremediation, that is on-site treatment for detoxification. Two, ex situ bioremediation, that is off-site treatment toxic materials. Three, sometimes bioremediation takes place by natural ways in means called intrinsic bioremediation or natural attenuation. Methods of bioremediation. We have the bioremediation types: natural attenuation, engineered bioremediation, and for the engineered bioremediation, we have in-site bioremediation, and under that we have bioventing, biospranging, and then when it comes to the X site, we have land farming, composting, and then biofile. Bioremediation technique. Bioaugmentation. Bioaugmentation is the injection of native or non-native microbes with specific catabolic abilities into the contaminated environment in order to supplement the indigenous population and to speed up or enable the degradation of pollutants. Bioremediation technique. Bioreactor. The term bioreactor refers to a vessel where the biological degradation of contaminants is performed in fully controlled conditions. That is, 140.5 bioremediation techniques, 3,147 parameters such as temperature, pH, aeration, and stirring rates are known and controlled. Bioventing. Bioventing is a promising technique that encourages the natural in situ biodegradation of any aerobically degradable compounds in soil by providing oxygen to indigenous soil microorganisms. Biopilling. Biopilling is a hybrid of land farming and composting. Essentially, engineered cells are constructed as aerated, composted pills, typically used for treatment of surface contamination with petroleum hydrocarbons. Bio, biopills are, are a refined version of land farming that tends to control physical losses to the contaminants by leaching and volatilization. Biostimulation. Biostimulation attempts to increase the indigenous microorganisms and accelerate the natural biodegradation rate by improving nutrients and the bioavailability of contaminants in cold environments. Composting. Composting is the process of peeling contaminated soil organic substance such as manure or agricultural waste. Land farming. Land farming involves the spreading of contaminated soil over an area in either applying specialized bacteria or allowing indigenous bacteria to metabolize the contaminant. Types of microorganisms involved in bioremediation. Bioremediation is the use of microorganisms to destroy or immobilize waste materials. Under aerobic, there is anaerobic goes in process of oxygen, degrade pesticides and hydrogen compounds, both alkanes and polyaromatic compounds. Many of these bacteria use the contaminants as the sole source of carbon and energy. For the anaerobic, grows in grows in absence of oxygen, are not as frequently as aerobic, degrade polychlorinated biphenyls, that's PCBs, and dechlorination of the solvents trichloroethane TCE and chloroform. Advantages of bioremediation. Complete bioremediation of harmful contaminants present in the environment instead to transferring contaminants from one site to another. 2. Cost-effective method with minimal requirements of complex tools and equipment. 3. Environment-friendly approach with use of microorganisms instead of harmful chemicals. 4. In majority cases, can be carried out on site, reducing transportation costs. Minimum site distraction and disruption. Lower liability level, lower energy consumption. Disadvantages of bioremediation. 1. Being a very effective, reliable, and easy approach is therefore accepted publicly and by the regulatory authorities. Only limited to biodegradable waste and contaminants. Requires extensive monitoring. Being a biological process, specificity is a major drawback in terms factors like type of environmental growth conditions, types of microorganisms, type of nutrient requirements, and type of contaminants. 5. Possibility of production unknown and potentially toxic byproducts. Lastly, comparatively a time-consuming process. This is the end of the presentation.